other follow-ups there may be as a result of this web chat. So it's a new thing for us. We really hope you enjoy it. And let's go ahead and get started with today's topic. I'm joined by Eric Wettstein. He's a Florida Hospital health and performance consultant. He's basically our wellness guru around here, who we go to when we want to talk about health and wellness. And today's topic is New Year's resolutions. And Eric, I'm sure you work with people every day. Now is the time that people start to break those New Year's resolutions. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about, is getting back on track. Tell me, first of all, though, what you do with Florida Hospital. Give us a little background of what you do.
So my background is, oh, by the way, thank you for inviting me for this.
You're very welcome. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you. So my position at Florida Hospital is to get all the employees healthy as much as I can. Basically, help change their lifestyle and bringing it in numerous ways. Basically, it could come from, we have a web portal for lifestyle. We have these energy for performance classes that are coming up. So it's not just about work, it's about family life as well. So basically infusing, ingraining, trying to get it organic and planting those seeds of wellness, throughout the system.
And just really briefly, as Florida Hospital as an organization is looking to do this because, number one, it's health and wellness in the community, but we kind of feel it's the right way to treat employees. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just, you go to work, you go home, and then it's back to work again and back home again, and just kind of that cycle over and over. Everybody is on this together. It's not just this company or that company or this family or that family that's doing the right things or the wrong things. Everybody is having the same challenges, the same obstacles, and the same rewards as well.
Well, and that's kind of what leads back into what we're talking about with New Year's resolutions. Come the new year, whether you wrote it down on paper or you didn't write it down or you just kind of thought about it in the back of your head, there may be a New Year's resolution, and a lot of people maybe have already broken them by now. Tell me about that.
Yeah, based on some research that's out there, it's about 21 days, and that's a lot of research on these kind of habits or things that you can actually try and make a goal towards or try to stop something or start something is based on a lot of addiction research or smoking research and things like that. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And what happens is, for example, to make some big change, whatever it might be that you want to do, it takes on average about 6 attempts. And again, that's based on a lot of smoking research and things like that. So it doesn't mean you can't do it in 1 or 5 or what, but on average, so expect that you're not going to get it right the first time. It's kind of like riding a bike. You started out with a tricycle, then you went to the training wheels, and then you went to the, it's going to take a couple of times, so, and then after that, it's sustaining it too. It's not just getting to that goal or completing that goal after the year. You have to do something after. It's not going to just take off by itself and just continue happening unless it's part of a ritual or part of who you are,
Looking at doing some internet research, looking at some of the top New Year's resolutions. Everybody wants to change their diet and eat healthier. It's one of the common
Number
things.
one.
Exercise, moving more, being healthier like that. Quitting smoking is a big one. Losing weight is a big, overall kind of resolution. Drinking less alcohol. Those are kind of some things that people generally associate with a New Year's resolution.
Right.
Do you see that a lot amongst folks?
Yeah, absolutely. And the trouble that sometimes happens with this is people will try to take on a new habit or a new thing, and they haven't even taken care of the old habit over here. So imagine, this old habit, let's say it's smoking or drinking too much or whatever it might be, is going on over here, and you're trying to take on something over here at the, and you haven't even fixed this, so they could be a washer making it worse, So it's ideal to try to stop or slow down the process of that old habit or whatever is going on, rather than taking on, and oftentimes people, on average, they try to take on 3 resolutions at once. People can't even take on 1. Forget about trying to do 3 things.
So they're doing too much.
It's people are not realistic. They're doing too much, too soon, too fast. Imagine, somebody who's like gung-ho on January 1st and they're like working out for 2 weeks straight and they're sore and they're like, oh my God, I haven't been this sore in so long from lifting weights or whatever it might be. And they can't work out for a week because they're so sore, and they're like, that's why I don't work out anymore. So it's just too much, too fast, too soon, and then they're done. That's why I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So it's those kind of things that happen.
That makes sense. So what are the most successful resolutions that you see? And like you said, there are some that are doomed to fail by taking on too much. What else do we have to worry about, and how can we set ourselves up for success?
Well, there's no one specific. You can't really say, well, the weight loss thing is going to work, or that's going to. It's got to be something that works for you. You know, for example, when you look at not being specific enough, you know, first of all, you have to be realistic. And if you're not specific enough with it, you know, what gets measured gets done is what they say. You know, so if you're just saying, I just want to lose weight, well, where is that? How do you have any parameters as to where you're going, where you're starting from? But if you start saying, well, I want to do a marathon next year, let's say it's a Disney marathon, and I want to do it in 5 hours or whatever, but it's not something I'm going to do it next week. You know, again, too much, too soon, too fast. I'm going to do it in 2 hours. And then what you do is that sort of bicycle approach that I was telling you, that okay, if you've never run, if you've never walked, you know, a 5K or whatever, that's what you start off with, something small, incremental steps. You know, it's the small goals. It's just like the saying of, you know, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one first step. You know, you'll get there. And I like to say, start thinking from the end. Think about, a lot of athletes will do visualization of things, and they'll actually see themselves lifting that 500 pounds or crossing that 100-meter dash, you know, in under, you know, 10 seconds or whatever. They visualize themselves doing it. So see your new you in your new year, however you want to look at it. It doesn't have to be something specific, because it's going to be individualistic. The other thing is, look at, for example, weight loss and all those things are top on people's priorities. Flip it on its end by looking at something that is outside of weight loss that may be tied to it. For example, I brought up earlier about, well, I want to play more with my kids. Well, you'll get that as a good side effect, but not as your main focus. So it's not right in your face that, oh, I got to lose weight. Oh, I got to step on the scale. Oh my God, I lost a pound, or I gained a pound, or whatever. And all of that psychoses that can happen from that. So you look at something that's beneficial to you, and the side effect just happens to be weight loss. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. So looking at those, taking the big goal, if it is losing weight, breaking that down into smaller segments that are more manageable.
Exactly.
Instead of having, like you said, staring you straight in the face, oh, I've got to lose weight.
Yeah, absolutely. What happens is people will look at, oh, I want to climb that mountain over there, Mount Everest or whatever, and from far away, it looks not too daunting, but as you're right up on that mountain, it's like, oh my God, I got to climb this 30,000 foot whatever, you know. So it looks too much, and then people just, it's like, okay, I can't do it.
Right.
It's the forest through the trees kind of thing. You just step by step.
Is there something to be said for keeping yourself accountable, telling your friends, telling your family, telling people that surround you at the office, here's what my New Year's resolution is, help me out with this?
Absolutely. There's accountability, you know, who can really police themselves? You know, I like to say, you know, it's easy to let yourself down. It's really hard to let somebody else down. And that's why I don't even use, if I had a choice, don't use even the word resolution. Resolution is synonymous with a broken promise. Everybody just kind of knows it. But if you say, this is a commitment, this is a decision, it's hard to break that. So for example, if you and I had an appointment together, like we had today, if I had an appointment with myself, I'll, you know, eat better today, or whatever it might be, or I won't eat that donut, or I'll work out today. I could break it or not, no big deal.
Right.
But if I had one with you, I would let you down, and much harder to do. You don't want to let somebody else down. So that accountability process is really important for people, and writing it down, writing it everywhere, having it everywhere, because we get lost in so many things that are going on in our daily lives. If you have it on your mirror, in your car, wherever it is, inspirational things, whatever gets you going. You know, I mean, look at an athlete or somebody. Let's say if you want to be a triathlete, look at somebody who's a role model for that, or someone you know. It doesn't have to be somebody famous, you know, and that's another way of accountability. You know, right? You know, there's a saying that says, "People forget, paper remembers." You know, therefore write it down, kind of thing. Yeah. So that's what you need to look at. Those kind of accountabilities, and for example, and look at, because people who you are accountable with. So let's say me and you both like donuts.
Yeah.
you don't want to do that, because when a donut comes up, I can't be accountable to you and you can't be accountable to me. So you look at weaknesses versus strengths. So you need complementary people in your lives.
So picking that workout buddy or that person that you're going to walk with, that becomes really important then.
Absolutely, because you see what can happen. The saboteurs can come in, the good intentions, you know, and we all know that quote about, you know, hell and the pathway to good intentions. So, you know, but that's what can happen. So you got to be careful. You know, there's a saying that says, you know, you are what you eat, but it's also you are who you eat with is what's important. So it's you are who you surround yourself in, your circle of influence.
So are you doomed for failure if your spouse or people in your household are not on the same bandwagon as you are?
It makes it much more challenging. I don't want to say doomed for failure, but what ends up happening oftentimes in that realm is that you have, and most oftentimes it's the woman of the house that just kind of has to lead everybody along, and it becomes this, I want you to do this, you have to do this, and it kind of, you're nagging or whatever it is on the person, and the person wants to get farther and farther away. You need to look at it that if they're not on board with whatever is going on in your commitment world, let them do their own thing. You're going to lead by your actions rather than trying to bring them on board. Obviously, you want to encourage, but you know, you just go out and run. If you want to say, honey, I want you to come out and run with me, or whatever it might be. No, I don't want to. Okay, you just keep doing it. You don't let someone else deter you from your commitments or your goals, even though it would. Because once they get on board, they will. They will. Believe me. You think that it won't happen, and kids will get on board a lot sooner than adults. We just, you know, that old dog new tricks kind of thing, you know. So. But it will happen. You have to.
Yeah.
It rubs off.
So finding the right person to be kind of with you is important. How would you go about finding someone? I mean, if you're not into group fitness or you're not doing those things.
Well, the web is a great thing. You know, there's always somebody out there with some sort of group that's out there. It could be at your workplace. There are people out there, and thankfully the web, you know, you can Google anything, and you can find some sort of group that's in your area. You'd be surprised as to how close somebody might be. It could be, if you're in an apartment complex, it could be somebody next door to you, right where you're living, and you don't even know it. So there's a lot of web channels that you can go through to find these things, and you know, work, family, you know, community, volunteerism really can spread that networking of you know, volunteerism is good anyways. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go to the web and take some questions. We have one from Dave who says, mentally, how can I keep my workouts going? How do I get that, you know, when it's time to get up in the morning and head out to run and you just want to lay there in the dark? What do you tell yourself?
So we didn't get into this yet, but really, you know, there's a couple of things that have to happen. I can go into all different avenues about being flexible and doing this and doing that, but really there's about three main things that you need to focus on. It's got to be simple, it's got to be doable, and it has to be having a compelling why behind it. For that sustainability, you have to have a good reason why you want to do it. And to add a little fourth one in there, it's got to have a little fun in it once in a while. You know, you don't want whatever you're doing to be work. After a while, it can become a ritual, and it's just do it and you miss it. It's like, you know, you've been working out for whatever, you know, 5 months or whatever, and you don't do it that day. It's like, oh, I miss it. That's where you want to get to that point. Not that I drudge it or I hate it. I'll give you an example with a compelling why. So, for example, you're on the side of a river, and there's alligators in the river, and you have to get to the other side. Okay? So imagine, would you do that just if I said, hey, do you want to go across that river? No, probably not. Probably not.
Probably not.
So, for example, if I said, how about for $1,000? You might start thinking about it. How about $1 million?
Okay, we're getting in the ballpark.
Okay. So now I'll ask you, what if, are you married?
Yes.
Okay. What if your husband, do you have kids? What if your husband or children are on the other side, and the only way that you can save their lives is to go through that river past the alligators?
Absolutely.
Would you do it? So there you go. That's your compelling why. That's how you figure out what's important to you and why you want to do it and what's going to sustain you day after day after day. Now, some people could have now that's life or death kind of thing, and it can be. Some people are like, well, I'm doing it because my father passed away at 45, and I don't want to end up like that. Not a bad thing. It's a good, compelling why, but it won't last you because, what'll last you longer, it won't last you because it's sort of on the negative side. You're looking at the negative, I don't want to be like this, versus flipping it around is, I want to live longer than him.
Or live longer for my kids.
For my kids, exactly.
Yeah.
So you kind of use him as standing on his shoulders, like the shoulder of giants, that you're like, sort of a legacy for him, rather than I'm opposed to what happened to him, and sort of that negative. So
it's not so much about talking yourself into it at that moment when you're laying in bed and saying, okay, I don't want to work out, but it's going back to that reason why.
Exactly.
I have type 2 diabetes and I need to exercise because I want to do this for my family, or whatever the circumstances may be, is looking for that particular reason. Any more tips along that motivation line?
So for example, when you look at the why, some people will say, well, I want to lose weight for, because I have a wedding that I have to, the classic for women is like, I want to fit in this dress, or guys and women, they're going back for a reunion or something like that. Whatever it might be, that is only for that moment, and it's going to fade, because you're just going to go right back to what you were doing most of the time. Not all the time. It can kickstart some people and say, I'm feeling so good, I'm so glad, and then you can continue. But if that's your sole purpose for doing it, nobody really cares except for that day, you or the other people, and they may not care either. It's like, so it has to be important to you, because once you go home from that reunion or that wedding, there you are, you're back to your daily routine. So you have to fit that in.
Yeah, we've got another call here, another text here. How should I determine what workout goals are reasonable for me? That's coming from Paul. What workout goals are reasonable? How do you judge that as an individual? Well,
you have to first, to know where you're going, you got to know where you are right now, and maybe where you've been. Without knowing enough information, I don't know what it could be. You got to basically, okay, what can you do or what can't you do? And don't just look at it that, well, let's say your workout goal is, I run 1 mile a day or whatever, and you feel like, or maybe you don't run at all. Let's start from there. You want to, again, start something to the next step, not way down here, okay, to the next step, whatever your workout goals. Now, if you're looking at, how often and things like that, that could be an hour-long segment just alone, just figuring out, the specifics of that question. So
the answer, and to some extent, was a question that I had for you too.
Sure.
Let's say I don't know what my wellness situation is. Is that the time for me to go run out and join a gym, so I can have someone help me analyze all of that and understand where I'm at and then where I need to go? Because I'm sure for some people there's some comfort in that. They don't know where to start.
Right.
Or are there certain things that I can do to kind of, okay, I'm going to take baby steps here on my own? Are there maybe resources on the internet? Or how would someone who doesn't have any wellness concept of where I am, I'm just not working out and I'm probably not eating right?
Right. There's 2 avenues you can go. One avenue is try something new, but again, remember what I said, you might have a lot of these bad or old habits that you need to take care of first, So that's a good place to start too, is like, what's the habit that I want to start breaking and trying to chip away at or whatever. It's not about quitting cold turkey. That's one avenue that you can go down with that. The other one is, what are you interested in? 2. So you can marriage that. Let's say, for example, your interest is, I either did it when I was younger that I was biking or something like that. I was into a lot of biking, or I haven't done it in a while, or whatever. Follow that path that you're interested in, or always wanted to do, or whatever. Maybe you want to take it. It doesn't even have to be working out. Maybe I always wanted to do piano lessons or something like that. Whatever your resolution is, whatever it might be. I know we focus a lot on physical and eating and all that kind of stuff, but it could be anything. That piano lesson, for example, could all of a sudden inspire you to get into those avenues that you thought you couldn't get into or didn't know where to start. So you have to. There's the definition of insanity. What happens is, for example, I'd like to ask, for everyone out there, how many years have you been doing the same resolution? You know, that's a definition of insanity. You know, if you do what you always done, you're going to get what you always got, is what my mom always would say. You know, so you got to change something, whatever it is. If it doesn't work, you don't like it, whatever, go back to the drawing board again. Not a big deal. That's where that be flexible part of it is.
Well, and at this point, too, it's kind of what we started off for our topic of this chat is, if you've fallen off the bandwagon already, how do you get back on? And
it's kind of what he was talking about.
Is it very similar to making that New Year's resolution to start out with?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a different thought process, or how do you go back and say, you know, okay, maybe you've slacked off and haven't done what you would hope to do? You know, giving yourself permission to get back on and start again.
Well, you're not a failure. You know, that's the thing. It's I look at it, you have failed in that moment, and I would even do a positive spin on that and say you just did not succeed in that moment. You know, because whenever you start going in that direction, you know, that makes it harder to overcome. It starts with your mind, you know, with that.
Yeah, trying to get that kind of conscious effort, getting it back on and giving yourself that permission.
and don't look at it like it's, you know, I only do it January 1.
Yeah.
You know, you want to have this rolling thing. You know, I have the story of the 2 horses. The horse where I get this all the time. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink. I can't do something or want something more for you that you don't want enough for yourself. I can't do it for you. And the other horse story is and everybody knows these. You've fallen off that horse, you just get right back up and ride. You know, you just there's a saying that there's the people who have never tried anything. There's the people who have failed and tried, and then there's people who have failed and they tried again. So you know, which one are you? You know, so you just it's no shame, no blame, no nothing. You know. Successful people, you don't think they ever failed in their life? They probably failed more than anyone else. There's a saying that says, you know, I'm an analogy saying person, so, you know, it says, if you want to succeed, double your rate of failure. Simple as that, you know, and get aligned with those people. Find out how these people are successful, you know, and it's the funny thing is, people in the beginning of the new year, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, they think that, okay, I'm going to do this New Year's resolution, I'm just going to do this for a couple weeks, and it's just going to go by itself. It doesn't go by itself. Michael Jordan did not become one of the greatest basketball players ever by just sitting on the couch watching TV, eating potato chips. No, he didn't. He practiced, and I'm sure there were days, just like everyone else, we're all human, where he didn't want to do it. But I'll bet you he's like, I want that championship, or whatever his commitment was, whatever his fire that was burning inside him, that passion. I do not want to be this way. I want to be this way. You know, forget about this old you, whatever it is. That was yesterday. You know, that moment's gone. Failure or not succeeding only happens in that moment. And then there's the next moment.
Yeah,
so
that's great. Let's take another question here. I've got one from Ted that says, is it better to tackle one bad habit like smoking or lack of exercise at a time, or make a full lifestyle change? We talked about that a little bit, but you were kind of saying.
So you kind of answered your question. The answer is right in your question. So you do not want to take on this thing. A lot of people do it, and one of the points is that, you know, the black or white thing, the all or nothing approach. It's tough. It's tough to moderate sometimes, you know, and be in that sort of, you got to be okay with only doing this much. I mean, we all have that time where I used to be this, and I used to. Well, that's used to. You know, you're not 20 anymore, or whatever age you are. You know, it's where are you at right now, and what can you do that's best for you in that time frame? Because believe me, I've had to change things in my life. I don't do the things I used to do, and when I'm 60, 70, you know, whatever age, I'm going to have to adjust, because what I'm doing now is not going to probably be the same. Similar, but not the same. You know, so take on one thing, and it's okay. You don't have to get it perfect. You know, and that's the other thing. You don't have to be moderately perfect either. You know, so it's don't shoot for that perfection in everything. Try to get closer to that next step, that next new you, whatever that is. For example, that's that weaning off kind of thing. If it's a bad habit like smoking, like he had mentioned, you do 2 packs a day down to a pack and a half, whatever. Are you okay with that? I'll give you an example. Research is saying that if you try to abstain, and if you can't do it for a week, you're not going to do it. I mean, it's like 99.9% of people
the cold turkey is not
the cold turkey is not going to cut it for most people if you cannot even abstain from whatever it is for a week.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a good check mark to like, okay, I'm going to stop this for a week. If you can do it for a week, you're well on your way. And then those 6 attempts come up. And it's like, okay, that's okay. Back to square one again. It's kind of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or maybe you just, and at one point you'll be like, here's what I'd like to say. In a year from now, where do you want to be? A year is going to come from now anyways. It's going to come, whether we like it or not, whether we do something or not, whether we sit on the couch or not. What do you want to be like, or what do you want to have a year from now?
Yeah, look at it that way. We got some more questions to take. This one is from Julie. How can I encourage my family, especially my kids and my husband, to be more active? We talked a little bit about nagging.
That. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Because you almost feel like when you're a person that wants to do something and you have that passion, it's almost like, especially family. I mean, it's easy to when it's strangers or people you don't know, it's like, okay, but these are people that are important to you. It almost feels like they're kind of pulling you down. You got to kind of, like we said before, you teach by action. That's how you're going to do it. You just remind them. You just say, hey, I'm going for a run, or hey, I'm eating this food or whatever, and they do what they want. Believe me. I mean, children, it depends. I mean, you're still going to be their parent. You still, and that depends on their age, whether they're 3 or 15, and whether they're a boy or a girl. And boys are going to eat you out at house and home at 16. I did. So. It depends on those scenarios.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Another question real quick related to family. What are some tips to help busy people like parents that have full-time jobs get exercise into their lives, and they don't want to miss out on that family time?
Right. And this is what I tell people. Well, first of all, shorten your time. Everybody thinks that you got to do an hour and a half. She's a maniac kind of thing, and I got to sweat and all that. No. Longevity, if you look at people who are 100 years old or longer, the healthy 100, they're just standing up, moving around all day, doing things, but they're not, you don't know any marathoners or any big weightlifters or whatever, at 100 years old. So look at it in those terms, that it's small little incremental things. Now, as far as with family, what I would do is incorporate the two. What you do is you find some exercise that the family all likes to do, and you get your workout in at the same time. Like, for example, if you have a dog, or if you have a child in a stroller or whatever, you're running with the stroller. So now you're together, you're bonding, and you're you're all benefiting from that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's fun getting out and riding the bikes. I've got to get my kids to the point where they can ride the bikes and keep up with us for actually to be exercise for
exactly,
me. So
exactly.
We got to work on that.
So you're actually challenging each other, right?
Yeah. So, we got to get the training wheels off so we can get them going a little bit faster. That's the next goal for us in the biking.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Let's see if we have any more questions here. It's going pretty good. We got a couple of more minutes left for our chat. Very short time left, but just wanted to make sure we try and get everybody's questions. One more thing, we did get a question from Running Girl. What is a good energy drink without too much sugar? I know, energy drinks
that's kind of that's a loaded question, because, well, I'll start from sort of the ideal. Energy drinks are pseudo energy. They do not give you energy. However, for example, if you're actually running in a marathon or getting ready, it depends on how far. You don't need energy drinks if you're running just like a 3-5 miler or whatever. But if you're something, if you're in competition, again, there's competition, there's all of those kind of things, and whether you're a pro athlete type of person going in that direction or whatever, those are different things. But as far as the average person, and they talk about, don't go anything more than 4 to 6% solution for any kind of ingredients in a drink. I would rather have those electrolytes. Energy is pseudo energy. Just the only energy that you ever get, anything for your body, is from what you eat, what you put in your mouth. That's it as far as food. Yeah. You do not get energy from water. You need hydration, but and you don't get energy from anything else except your food. So just be aware. It's kind of a loaded question. It depends. So.
Yeah. Well, Eric, thank you so much, and thank you to all the people for taking the time to do this, and all the folks that submitted their questions. We got a chance to answer a few of them, but I really feel like we only scratched the surface of all the things that you could talk about with health and wellness, and we focused a lot on exercise and diet, but there's so many other resolutions out there. If you missed part of the chat, there's going to be an opportunity. We're going to go ahead and we've recorded this. We want to repost it on Facebook, so if there's a part of it that you missed that you want to go back and take a look at, and as we build up a library of these, you'll be able to take take a look at them again, we'll have those for you on Facebook. So make sure you go to Florida Hospital's Facebook page. Go ahead and like us there, and then you'll find out more about more of these chats that are coming and also what's going on at Florida Hospital. So thanks so much for joining us for our very first health chat with Eric Wettstein, and we'll hope you'll join us again soon.